Everything you learned about American history in school is a lie. You were told a story about unity, pilgrims, founding fathers, all holding hands to build a perfect nation. It's a nice little fairy tale, isn't it? What if I told you America's entire history has been one giant, secret war? Not North versus South. This war is the super rich versus literally everyone else. And today, we're exposing it all. To see how this all started, we're going back to 1676, before America was even America. Forget brave settlers, the Virginia colony was a crazy pyramid scheme. At the very top, you had a few rich guys who owned all the land. And at the bottom, you had everyone else. Poor white servants, immigrants, and enslaved Africans doing all the work for them. These different groups had one huge thing in common. They were all getting scammed by the same tiny group of rich dudes. And for one insane moment, they all teamed up. A guy named Nathaniel Bacon put together an army of these poor, landless men. And here's the craziest part. His army was made of poor white and black people fighting the rich together. They marched on the Capitol and burned it to the ground. It was wild. The rebellion eventually ended, but the rich guys were terrified. They saw the poor uniting and almost lost everything. So they came up with a crazy, brilliant plan: divide and conquer. In the years after, they literally invented new laws to make race the most important thing. They taught poor white people to care more about their skin color than about the fact that they were getting screwed over by the same rich guys as black people. It was the beginning of a strategy that would be used for centuries. Whenever the 99% get too close to uniting, change the subject to race. Fast forward 100 years, we're at the American Revolution. Everyone fighting for liberty, right? But liberty for who exactly? In the years before 1776, poor farmers were already rising up against their landlords. Mobs in Boston were going after rich people just as much as the British. This whole time there was a massive class conflict brewing. So after they beat the British, the rich elites, the bankers, merchants, and slave owners, got super nervous. They weren't scared of the British anymore. They were scared of their fellow Americans. Many soldiers came home from the war totally broke and were about to lose their farms. And then, bam! Shays' Rebellion. An army of war veterans, led by Daniel Shays, rose up to stop the courts from taking their land. This freaked out the founding fathers. George Washington was literally like, "This is getting out of control." And that is why they held the Constitution Convention. The richest guys in the country got together to write a new rule book. The Constitution wasn't just about freedom, it was an economic document designed by the rich for the rich. It created a system to protect their money, give the government the power to crush rebellions, and keep the masses from having too much power. They sold it to everyone as liberty, but it was the ultimate plan to keep the rich in charge forever. Now we jump to the Gilded Age. This is when the super rich became mega rich. I'm talking about guys like Carnegie and Rockefeller with insane fortunes. And they built that money by working people to death. We're talking 12-hour days, wages so low people were starving, and so many deadly accidents that 35,000 workers were killed on the job every single year. That's like a small city dying annually. But the workers fought back. They started organizing, and it got bloody. In 1886, at a rally for the 8-hour workday in Chicago, someone threw a bomb. We still don't know who, but the government convicted 8 labor organizers and hanged 4 of them to make an example. In 1892, steel workers at Andrew Carnegie's plant went on strike. His manager responded by hiring a private army of 300 armed Pinkerton agents to fight them. It was a literal day-long gun battle. Then, in 1894, railroad workers went on strike to protest their pay being cut. The US government didn't step in to help the workers. It sent in thousands of federal troops to smash the strike for the corporation. Haymaker, Homestead, Pullman. Do you see the pattern? Every single time the working class organized to get a fair share, the corporations and the government crushed them with insane violence. Then, it all crashing down. The Great Depression. A quarter of the country had no job. The whole system was about to explode. For the first time since the Civil War, the rich were actually scared of a revolution in America. And that's why we got the New Deal. People think FDR just gave everyone Social Security and other programs. No, it was a deal the rich were forced to make to stop the entire country from collapsing because of massive strikes and protests from regular people. But they used the same old trick. To pass these new laws, FDR needed votes from racist politicians in the South, and the price for their votes was to leave black people out of the deal. The original Social Security Act literally excluded farm and domestic workers, the 2 main jobs held by black Americans. And the government even invented redlining, which stopped black families from getting loans to buy homes. So, yeah, the New Deal created a middle class for millions of white families, but it did it by making the money gap between white and black America even bigger. It was another classic move in the secret class war. So, who cares about all this old history? You should, because the same war is happening right now. For the last 50 years, the rich have been crushing unions. And guess what? Your pay has stayed the same, while the richest people have gotten stupidly rich. Today, the top 1% of Americans take home nearly 20% of all the money. During the pandemic alone, American billionaires got over $2 trillion richer. This wasn't an accident. It was a decades-long plan to transfer wealth from the bottom to the very, very top. And how do they get away with it? They use the same playbook from hundreds of years ago. They distract us with culture wars to get us angry at our neighbors. They use coded language to blame immigrants for economic problems that giant corporations actually caused. They want us fighting over crumbs so we don't look up and notice they've stolen the whole cake. But it looks like things are finally changing. We're seeing workers at Amazon, Starbucks, and all over the country teaming up and fighting back. Public support for unions is the highest it's been in decades. People are starting to realize their real allies aren't the politicians or the billionaires. They're the people working right next to them, no matter what they look like. America's history isn't some simple, happy story of unity. It's the story of that first wild army of poor black and white people fighting the rich together. It's the story of farmers rising up so they wouldn't lose their homes. It's the story of the Haymarket martyrs and the Pullman strikers who faced down bullets for an 8-hour day. And it's the story of fast food and warehouse workers fighting for a living wage right now. History is a weapon. The fake history they teach you in school is designed to keep the rich in power and make you feel like you can't change anything. But this real, hidden history, our history, shows that every single right we have, from the weekend to workplace safety, was won by people fighting from below. Nothing was ever just given to us. And knowing that this secret war has been happening this whole time is the first step to finally winning it. If this video blew your mind, smash that like button and subscribe right now. You are not going to want to miss what we expose next. Share this video with one person so they can see the real story of America. And comment below,
What other part of history makes way more sense now that you know it was a class war?